Our story begins on Coruscant, in the heart of the Jedi Temple, where the air hums with the weight of destiny. Anakin Skywalker, newly anointed Jedi Master at the unprecedented age of 22, stands before the Council. His robes are crisp, his lightsaber gleaming at his side, but his heart churns with unease. The Clone Wars rage on, and the title of Master, though a triumph, feels like a chain tethering him to a galaxy that demands more than he can give. Ahsoka Tano, his Padawan, watches from the chamber's edge, her sharp eyes catching the flicker of doubt in her master's gaze. She senses the storm within him, his love for Padmé Amidala, his frustration with the Council's rigidity, and now, the crushing responsibility of his new rank. The galaxy teeters on the edge of chaos, and Anakin's elevation, meant to solidify his loyalty, only deepens the fracture between his heart and his duty. The council chambers are bathed in the golden light of Coruscant's setting sun, but the mood is far from warm. Mace Windu's stern gaze locks onto Anakin, his voice cutting through the silence as he assigns him a critical mission. The Separatists, led by Count Dooku, have fortified a droid factory on Geonosis, threatening to choke Republic supply lines. Anakin, alongside Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka, is to lead the 501st Legion in a surgical strike to destroy it. The Council trusts Anakin's skill, but their trust is laced with caution. His rapid rise has stirred whispers. Some call him reckless, others a prodigy. Yoda, his eyes narrowed, senses a darkness clinging to Anakin's spirit, though he speaks no word of it. Anakin accepts the mission with a nod, but his mind drifts to Padmé, hidden away in her senatorial apartment, her safety a constant ache in his chest. As the trio departs the temple, the sprawling cityscape of Coruscant stretches endlessly below, its lights pulsing like a living heartbeat. Anakin's starfighter leads the formation, flanked by Obi-Wan's and Ahsoka's, their ships slicing through the atmosphere toward a waiting Venator-class cruiser. Ahsoka, piloting with practiced ease, feels a surge of pride in her master's new title, but also a nagging unease. Anakin has been distant lately, his laughter rarer, his temper sharper. She wonders if the weight of mastery has changed him, or if something deeper gnaws at his soul. Obi-Wan, ever the steady hand, senses the tension but buries it beneath his focus on the mission. The war demands unity, and he trusts Anakin's heart, even if its edges are fraying. The journey to Geonosis is swift, the hyperspace lanes a blur of blue and white. Aboard the cruiser, Anakin briefs the 501st, his voice steady, but his eyes restless. Captain Rex, standing at attention, notes the fire in Anakin's commands, a blend of confidence and desperation. The plan is bold. Anakin and Ahsoka will infiltrate the factory's core to plant explosives, while Obi-Wan and Rex lead a diversionary assault on the outer defenses. The stakes are high. Failure could tip the war's balance toward the Separatists. As the briefing ends, Ahsoka lingers, catching Anakin's arm. She wants to ask about the shadow she senses, but his sharp glance silences her. He's her master, her hero, but in this moment, he feels like a stranger. Geonosis looms in the viewport, its red desert scarred by war. The Republic fleet drops out of hyperspace, greeted by a swarm of vulture droids. Laser fire stitches the void, and Anakin's starfighter weaves through the chaos, Ahsoka matching his every move. Obi-Wan's calm voice crackles over the comm, directing the fleet to hold the line. The cruisers unleash barrages of turbolaser fire, carving paths through the droid swarm. Anakin and Ahsoka break through, landing their fighters in a canyon near the factory. The air is thick with dust, the ground trembling from distant explosions. They move as one, lightsabers ignited, cutting through patrolling battle droids with surgical precision. Ahsoka's twin blades dance in green arcs, while Anakin's blue saber hums with lethal intent. Yet, as they near the factory's entrance, Anakin pauses, his gaze distant, as if hearing a whisper only he can discern. Inside the factory, The air is choked with the clang of machinery and the hiss of molten metal. Droid assembly lines churn endlessly, their red eyes glowing in the dim light. Anakin and Ahsoka navigate a maze of catwalks, their footsteps muffled by the roar of production. Ahsoka's senses are sharp, attuned to the Force, but Anakin's presence feels unsteady, like a flame flickering in a storm. They reach the reactor core, a towering cylinder pulsing with energy. Anakin plants the first explosive, his movements mechanical, his mind elsewhere. Ahsoka watches him, her heart heavy. She remembers the Anakin who taught her to trust her instincts, who laughed in the face of danger. Now, his silence feels like a wall she cannot breach. The mission teeters on the edge of success when alarms blare, red lights bathing the factory in an ominous glow. Count Dooku, alerted to the intrusion, has arrived with a cadre of Magna Guards. His presence ripples through the Force, a cold shadow that makes Ahsoka's skin prickle. Anakin's eyes narrow, his hand tightening on his saber. This is no mere skirmish. Dooku is a specter from his past, the one who severed his arm, who taunts him with every elegant strike. The Magna Guards charge, their electro-staffs crackling. Anakin meets them with ferocity, his blade a blur as he cleaves through metal and circuits. Ahsoka fights at his side, her movements fluid, but she senses Anakin's anger rising, a tide threatening to drown his control. Dooku steps from the shadows, his red lightsaber casting a bloody glow. His cape billows as he regards Anakin with a mocking smile, sensing the turmoil within the young Jedi Master. The duel begins with a clash that shakes the catwalks. Anakin's strikes are powerful but reckless, each swing fueled by memories of Geonosis, of loss, of Padmé's fragile safety. Dooku parries with effortless grace, his blade weaving a deadly dance. Ahsoka tries to flank him, but Dooku's force push sends her skidding across the platform, her sabers clattering out of reach. Anakin roars, his attack intensifying, but Dooku's precision exploits every opening, his blade grazing Anakin's shoulder, drawing a hiss of pain. Outside, Obi-Wan and Rex lead the 501st in a desperate holding action. Blaster fire lights up the canyon, clones falling under waves of battle droids. Obi-Wan's saber hums as he deflects bolts, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos. He senses the disturbance within the factory, Anakin's anger a beacon in the Force. Rex, ever loyal, rallies the troops, his voice cutting through the din. The diversion is working, but the cost is mounting, and Obi-Wan knows they cannot hold much longer. He trusts Anakin to complete the mission, but the shadow of doubt creeps into his mind. Back in the factory, Anakin's duel with Dooku reaches a fever pitch. The reactor core hums ominously, its energy destabilizing as stray saber strikes nick its casing. Ahsoka recovers, leaping back into the fray, her sabers reclaimed. She fights not just for the mission, but for Anakin, desperate to pull him back from the edge. Dooku, sensing her intent, targets her, his blade aimed at her chest. Anakin intercepts, his saber locking with Dooku's, their faces inches apart. The Force surges around them, a maelstrom of light and dark. Anakin's eyes burn with a fire Ahsoka has never seen, and for a moment, she fears he will lose himself. The platform buckles, sparks flying as the reactor begins to overload. Anakin breaks the lock, shoving Dooku back with a burst of Force energy. He grabs Ahsoka, sprinting toward the exit as the factory trembles. Dooku pursues, his saber slashing through supports, collapsing catwalks in their wake. The explosives detonate, a chain reaction igniting the core. Fire erupts, consuming the factory in a blaze of light. Anakin and Ahsoka dive through the entrance, tumbling into the canyon as the structure collapses behind them. Dooku vanishes into the inferno, his fate uncertain, but the mission is complete. The Republic fleet withdraws, battered, but victorious. Aboard the cruiser, Anakin stands alone in the hangar, staring at the stars. His shoulder is bandaged, his face etched with exhaustion. Ahsoka approaches, hesitant, her heart heavy with questions. She wants to ask about the darkness she felt, the rage that nearly consumed him. But Anakin's silence is a barrier, and she turns away, her trust shaken. Obi-Wan watches from a distance, his own heart troubled. Anakin's mastery is a gift, but it has come too soon, and the war's unrelenting pressure threatens to break him. In the Senate, Padmé receives word of the mission's success, but her relief is tempered by fear. She knows Anakin's heart, knows the toll the war takes on him. In her apartment, she clutches a pendant he gave her, a silent prayer for his safety. Far across the galaxy, in a shadowed chamber, Darth Sidious watches a hollow feed of the Geonosis battle. His yellow eyes gleam with interest. Anakin's power grows, but so does his vulnerability. The Sith Lord's plans shift, a new piece moving into place on his galactic board. The war grinds on, and Anakin, now a Jedi master, carries the weight of a galaxy on his shoulders.
His bond with Ahsoka, once unbreakable, frays under the strain of his inner turmoil. The path ahead is shrouded in shadow, and every choice he makes will shape the fate of those he loves, and the galaxy itself. The war's relentless grind carves deeper scars into the galaxy, and Anakin Skywalker, now a Jedi Master, stands at its heart. Weeks after the Geonosis victory, the Republic's triumph feels hollow. Separatist forces, undeterred by the loss of their factory, strike harder, their fleets slicing through outer rim systems like blades through silk. Anakin's new rank demands he lead from the front, but each battle widens the chasm within him. His love for Padmé burns brighter than ever, a beacon in the chaos, yet it pulls him from the Jedi path. Ahsoka Tano, his Padawan, senses the fracture but clings to her faith in him, even as his silences grow heavier. Obi-Wan Kenobi, ever watchful, fears the weight of mastery may crush the man he calls brother. On Coruscant, the Jedi Temple hums with urgency. The Council summons Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka to address a new threat. Intelligence reports confirm Count Dooku survived Geonosis, now rallying separatist forces on Ryloth. The Twi'lek homeworld, already battered by war, faces annihilation under Dooku's blockade. The Council tasks Anakin with leading a relief mission, supported by Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and the 501st Legion. Mace Windu's voice is stern, warning Anakin to temper his aggression. Yoda's gaze lingers, his ancient eyes probing the shadows in Anakin's spirit. Anakin nods, but his thoughts drift to Padmé, her last hollow message a whispered plea for him to stay safe. The mission is a duty, but his heart yearns for a life beyond the saber's glow. The Republic fleet leaps into hyperspace, a constellation of cruisers bound for Ryloth. Aboard the Resolute, Anakin paces the bridge, his presence a storm of restless energy. Captain Rex, at his side, reports on troop readiness, but Anakin's responses are curt, his mind elsewhere. Ahsoka, studying tactical holomaps, feels the weight of his distance. She recalls their early days, Anakin's daring, his laughter, the way he taught her to trust the Force. Now, his eyes are clouded, his smiles rare. She approaches, offering a tentative joke about his new robes, but his sharp glance cuts her short. The bond they once shared frays, and Ahsoka buries her hurt, focusing on the mission. Obi-Wan, observing from the command deck, senses the strain. He remembers Anakin as a boy, brimming with potential, and as a knight, fierce but loyal. Mastery has sharpened Anakin's skill but dulled his joy. Obi-Wan resolves to guide him, but the war's demands leave little room for counsel. As the fleet nears Ryloth, sensors detect a separatist armada, dozens of frigates orbiting the planet, their cannons primed. Anakin's strategy is bold, a frontal assault to break the blockade, with he and Ahsoka leading a squadron of Y-Wings to disable the command ship's shields, allowing Obi-Wan and Rex to land ground forces. The plan is risky,
but Anakin's confidence is unshakable, a fire that both inspires and unsettles. The battle erupts in a blaze of light. Republic cruisers exchange volleys with separatist ships, turbo lasers painting the void in crimson and green. Anakin's Y-wing dives through the chaos, Ahsoka at his wing, their ships weaving past vulture droids. Laser fire grazes their hulls, but Anakin's piloting is unmatched, his reflexes honed by years of war. Ahsoka matches him, her focus razor-sharp, but she senses his recklessness, a hunger for victory that borders on wrath. They reach the command ship, a hulking Lucrehulk, and unleash proton torpedoes, cracking its shields. The path is clear, but Anakin lingers, targeting secondary systems, his aggression drawing enemy fire. Ahsoka's voice crackles over the comm, urging him to withdraw, but he presses on, a shadow of vengeance in his eyes. On Ryloth's surface, Obi-Wan and Rex lead the 501st through Ochre Canyons, their LAAT gunships dodging anti-aircraft fire. Twi'lek resistance fighters, led by Cham Syndulla, join the fray, their blasters cutting down battle droids. Obi-Wan's saber hums, deflecting bolts with calm precision, but his mind is with Anakin. The Force pulses with his former Padawan's turmoil, a storm threatening to break. Rex, ever pragmatic, rallies the clones, his loyalty to Anakin unwavering. The ground assault gains ground, but the blockade's stranglehold persists, and Obi-Wan knows the mission hinges on Anakin's success above. Aboard the Lucrehulk, Anakin and Ahsoka infiltrate the bridge, their sabers carving through droid sentries. The air is thick with ozone, the hum of machinery a constant drone. They confront the ship's commander, a Neimoidian tactician, but Anakin's interrogation is brutal, his Force grip tightening until the officer collapses. Ahsoka's heart lurches. She's seen Anakin's strength, but never this cruelty. Before she can speak, alarms blare. Dooku's shuttle has docked, his presence a cold weight in the Force. Anakin's face hardens, memories of Geonosis flooding back. He orders Ahsoka to secure the bridge while he faces Dooku alone. She protests, but his glare silences her, and she obeys, her trust shaken. The duel unfolds in the ship's hangar, a cavernous space lit by flickering sparks. Dooku emerges, his red saber casting a bloody glow. His voice drips with disdain, taunting Anakin's new rank, his loyalty, his heart. Anakin's blue blade ignites, and the clash is thunderous, metal screeching as their sabers lock. Dooku's elegance meets Anakin's raw power, each strike a test of will. Anakin fights with ferocity, his anger a palpable force, but Dooku's precision exploits every misstep, his blade nicking Anakin's arm, then his thigh. The pain fuels Anakin's rage, his strikes growing wilder, the Force swirling around him like a tempest. Ahsoka, sensing the duel from the bridge, abandons her post, sprinting to her master's side. She arrives as Dooku gains the upper hand, his saber poised for a killing blow. Ahsoka leaps, her twin blades intercepting Dooku's strike. The Sith Lord pivots, his Force push, sending her crashing into a crate, but her intervention buys Anakin a moment to recover. Together, they press Dooku, their sabers a blur of blue and green. Anakin's rage tempers, guided by Ahsoka's presence, and their synergy overwhelms Dooku. A coordinated strike disarms him, his saber clattering across the hangar. Anakin hesitates, his blade at Dooku's throat, the dark side whispering for blood. Ahsoka's voice, steady and pleading, cuts through the haze, urging him to spare Dooku for justice. Anakin lowers his saber, binding Dooku with cuffs, but his eyes burn with unresolved fury. The blockade crumbles as the command ship falls, Republic forces sweeping through the separatist fleet. On Ryloth, Obi-Wan and Cham secure the capital, freeing Twi'lek civilians from droid occupation. The victory is hard won, but the cost is etched in the faces of the clones, the Twi'leks, and the Jedi. Aboard the Resolute, Dooku is secured in a holding cell, his silence a looming threat. Anakin stands before him, his fists clenched, haunted by the temptation to end the Sith's life. Ahsoka watches, her heart torn. She sees the hero in Anakin, but also the shadow, and fears what it may consume. Obi-Wan, joining them, places a hand on Anakin's shoulder, his presence a quiet anchor. The war presses on, but this moment feels like a crossroads. In the Senate, Padmé works tirelessly, drafting peace proposals despite resistance from war-hungry senators. News of Anakin's victory and Dooku's capture reaches her, filling her with pride and dread. She knows each battle pushes Anakin closer to a breaking point. In her apartment, she traces the pendant he gave her, whispering his name like a prayer. Far away, on Sereno, Darth Sidious watches a hollow feed of the Ryloth battle, his lips curling. Dooku's capture is a setback, but Anakin's turmoil is a gift. The Sith Lord's plans deepen, his gaze fixed on the young Jedi Master whose heart teeters on the edge of light and dark. Back on Coruscant, the Jedi Council debates Dooku's fate. Windu advocates for a trial, but Anakin's impatience simmers, his trust in the Council fraying. Ahsoka, torn between loyalty to Anakin and the Jedi Code, seeks Obi-Wan's counsel. He speaks of balance, of trust, but his words feel distant to her. The war's shadow looms larger, and Anakin's role as a master pulls him into its heart. A new mission looms. A separatist plot on Kamino threatens the Republic's clone production. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan are dispatched, but the Force hums with warning. Something waits in the shadows, a trap woven by a mind colder than steel. As the fleet prepares to depart, Anakin steals a moment with Padmé in her apartment. Their embrace is fierce, a fleeting refuge from the war. She begs him to be careful, her eyes searching his for the man she loves. He promises to return, but his voice is heavy, the weight of mastery and war pressing down. Ahsoka, waiting in the temple, feels a pang of isolation. She wants to be the Padawan Anakin needs, but his walls are higher than ever. Obi-Wan, boarding the cruiser, senses the gathering storm. The galaxy spins toward a reckoning, and Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Master, stands at its center, his choices shaping the fate of all. The Kaminoan seas churn under a sky of endless storms, their waves crashing against the sleek spires of Tipoca City. Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Master, leads his fleet into the heart of a separatist trap. Intelligence warned of an attack on the Republic's clone facilities, but the scale is staggering. A massive armada under General Grievous, poised to drown Kamino in fire. Anakin stands on the Resolute's bridge, his eyes blazing with resolve, but the Force hums with menace. Ahsoka Tano, at his side, grips her sabers, her trust in her master strained but unbroken. Obi-Wan Kenobi, calm amidst the chaos, senses a deeper shadow orchestrating the assault. The war has built to this moment, and Anakin's choices will either save the galaxy or shatter it. The battle ignites with a ferocity that shakes the stars. Separatist frigates unleash torrents of laser fire, their vulture droids swarming like locusts. Republic cruisers counter, turbo lasers carving glowing arcs through the void. Anakin's starfighter spearheads the assault, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan flanking him, their ships dodging blasts with preternatural skill. Grievous's flagship, the Invisible Hand, looms at the Armada's heart, its cannons pounding Kamino's shields. Anakin's plan is audacious. Board the flagship, disable its command systems, and confront Grievous. Ahsoka hesitates, sensing the recklessness in his voice, but follows, her loyalty a tether to the man she still believes in. Obi-Wan, leading the fleet's defense, trusts Anakin, but fears the cost of his fury. The trio's fighters breach the flagship's hangar, laser fire scorching the air. Battle droids swarm, their blasters a crimson storm. Anakin's blue saber ignites, slicing through metal with lethal precision. Ahsoka's twin blades weave green arcs, her movements a mirror of her master's, but her heart races with dread. Obi-Wan, ever steady, deflects bolts, his saber a beacon of calm. They carve a path to the bridge, but Grievous awaits, his four arms clutching stolen lightsabers. His mechanical laugh echoes, taunting Anakin's new rank, his past defeats. The duel erupts in a blaze of light, sabers clashing with bone-jarring force. Grievous spins, his blades a whirlwind, but Anakin meets him with raw power, each strike fueled by years of war and loss. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan flank Grievous, their attacks coordinated but strained. Grievous targets Ahsoka, his sabers slashing at her chest. Anakin intercepts, shoving her aside, his blade locking with Grievous's. The Force surges, a tempest of light and dark, as Anakin's anger flares. Obi-Wan senses it, shouting for restraint, but Anakin's eyes burn, the dark side whispering promises of victory. Grievous exploits the moment, his claw slashing Anakin's arm, drawing blood. Ahsoka leaps, her sabers grazing Grievous's shoulder, forcing him back. The bridge trembles, consoles sparking as stray strikes hit vital systems. The flagship lurches, its orbit decaying, but the duel rages on, a clash of wills as much as blades. Outside, the battle tips toward chaos. Republic cruisers falter under separatist barrages, Kamino's shields flickering. Captain Rex, leading the 501st on the surface, rallies clones against droid landings, his blaster a steady rhythm. The Kaminoans, led by Lama Su, fortify their facilities, but the tide is relentless. Obi-Wan, sensing the flagship's instability, urges Anakin to end the fight. Grievous, wounded but defiant, unleashes a barrage of strikes, driving Anakin to the bridge's edge. Ahsoka dives, her sabers disarming one of Grievous's arms, but he counters, hurling her into a console. Anakin roars, his blade slashing Grievous's chestplate, sparks flying as the cyborg staggers. The true trap reveals itself as alarms scream, the bridge's hollow screen flickering to life. Darth Sidious's hooded figure appears, his voice a venomous hiss. The attack was a lure, designed to draw Anakin into a crucible of rage. Sidious taunts him, revealing Padmé's secret mission to negotiate with separatist defectors, a mission now compromised, her ship under attack. Anakin's heart seizes, his saber faltering. Grievous lunges, but Anakin's fury erupts, the Force exploding from him. Consoles shatter, Grievous is flung back, his remaining sabers clattering away. Anakin's blade pierces his core, ending the cyborg in a shower of sparks. The bridge falls silent, but Sidious's laughter lingers, the trap's jaws closing. Ahsoka, bruised but standing, grabs Anakin's arm, her voice urgent. Padmé needs him, but so does the galaxy. Obi-Wan, deflecting debris, insists they evacuate. The flagship is plummeting toward Kamino. Anakin's eyes, wild with fear, fix on the holoscreen's last image. Padmé's ship, a Naboo cruiser, under fire in the outer rim. He sprints for the hangar, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan trailing. The ship shakes, corridors collapsing, flames licking at their heels. They reach their fighters, launching into the storm as the invisible hand fractures, its wreckage raining on Kamino's seas. The Republic fleet, battered but holding, clears a path. Anakin's starfighter streaks toward Padmé's last known coordinates, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan in pursuit. The Force pulses with Sidious's presence, a shadow guiding separatist remnants to intercept. Vulture droids swarm, their lasers grazing Anakin's hull. Ahsoka's voice crackles over the comm, pleading for focus, but Anakin's mind is with Padmé, every second a knife in his chest. Obi-Wan, calm but firm, takes command, directing their fighters to outmaneuver the droids. They break through, hyperspace swallowing them as they race to her aid. Padmé's cruiser drifts in the Anoat system, its hull scarred, shields failing. Separatist frigates pound it, their cannons relentless. Padmé, on the bridge, coordinates defenses with C-3PO and her guards, her resolve unshaken, but her heart heavy. She senses Anakin, a beacon in the Force, and clings to hope. Anakin's fighter emerges from hyperspace, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan at his wings. The battle is immediate, lasers stitching the void. Anakin dives, his ship a blur, torpedoes crippling a frigate's engines. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan cover him, their sabers ready for boarding. The cruiser's hangar opens, and they land amidst blaster fire, battle droids swarming. Anakin carves through droids, his saber a blue inferno, his only thought Padmé's safety. Ahsoka fights at his side, her blades a green whirlwind, but she senses his desperation, a tide pulling him from the light. Obi-Wan, deflecting bolts, anchors them, his presence a reminder of duty. They reach the bridge, finding Padmé unharmed but shaken. Her eyes meet Anakin's, a fleeting moment of relief, but the ship lurches, a final frigate's barrage breaching its hull. The Force screams, and Anakin senses Sidious's hand, a trap within a trap. The frigate's commander, a tactical droid, relays Sidious's orders, destroy the cruiser at all costs. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan board the enemy ship, their sabers cutting through droid ranks. The bridge is a fortress, but Anakin's rage is unstoppable, his blade shattering the droid commander. Ahsoka plants explosives, her hands steady despite the chaos. Obi-Wan guides them out, the frigate exploding behind them, its wreckage drifting harmlessly. Padmé's cruiser limps to safety, Republic reinforcements arriving to secure the system. The battle ends, but the war's shadow lingers. On Coruscant, the Jedi Council receives Anakin's report, their faces grim. Dooku's trial looms, and Sidious's influence is undeniable. Anakin, standing before them, is a figure of triumph and turmoil, his mastery a double-edged blade. Ahsoka, watching, feels a rift. She loves her master, but fears his path. Obi-Wan, ever the brother, vows to guide him, though doubt gnaws at his heart.
Padmé, safe in her apartment, holds Anakin, their love a fragile shield against the galaxy's weight. The galaxy shifts, the war's end in sight but not assured. Sidious's plans falter, his pawns, Grievous, Dooku, weakened or lost. Yet he watches, his yellow eyes fixed on Anakin, the key to his empire. The Jedi, led by Windu and Yoda, begin to suspect Palpatine, their trust in the Chancellor eroding. Ahsoka, grappling with her role, trains harder, seeking clarity in the Force. Anakin, torn between love and duty, finds solace in Padmé, but knows each victory brings him closer to a choice: the Jedi, or the man he longs to be. Years later, the galaxy finds peace. The Clone Wars end with Sidious's exposure, unmasked by Jedi and Senate allies, Padmé, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma. Anakin, tempered by Ahsoka's faith and Obi-Wan's guidance, rejects the dark side, standing as a Jedi master who reshapes the Order. The Council reforms, embracing emotion as strength, not weakness. Ahsoka, now a knight, leads with compassion, her bond with Anakin healed. Padmé, a senator no longer hiding her love, builds a republic rooted in justice. Obi-Wan, graying but content, watches his family, Anakin, Ahsoka, Padmé, thrive. On Naboo, Anakin and Padmé stand by a lake, their newborn twins, Luke and Leia, cradled between them. Ahsoka, visiting, laughs as she teaches the infants to grasp her fingers, her heart light. Obi-Wan, nearby, smiles, the Force flowing freely, untainted by Sith. The galaxy is not perfect. Pirates raid, politics simmer. But it is whole. Anakin, once torn, is now balanced, his mastery a beacon of hope. The Jedi, no longer cloistered, live among the people,
guardians of a peace hard won. And folks, that's our story. I loved weaving this tale, exploring Anakin's struggle and triumph as a master before Ahsoka's departure. The emotional depth, the duels, the hope. It's Star Wars at its core. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video.